So guys, welcome to today's Property Management Mastermind. This is an important one because we are literally at that place in the year for us to reflect on what's been happening, but importantly, what are we moving forward with? If you got the text message, I mentioned on the text message this concept of windscreen and the rear vision mirror. And one of the key things in life is how we actually focus on what's through the windscreen, what's out the windscreen and the rear vision mirror. So that ratio is about right. Yes, it's okay to reflect and have a look what's happened behind us. But if we think about it, if a motor vehicle had a rear vision mirror the size of the windscreen, we'd always be looking back, and we just have this little view in terms of looking forward. Okay, cool. And the concept of that, therefore, is how do we make sure we're looking forward now, not to say there's not going to be some twists and turns, but really importantly, that we want to be able to look at how we can capitalize and move things forward. So I have some PowerPoints for you in terms of today. So let's actually jump into go mode with those. And we'll jump into this. Okay. Excellent. So, Property Management Mastermind. The first thing I'd like to just reinforce is that you make the difference. You want to take that on board in a major way, guys. If no one turns up in the business today, there's not a lot that actually happens. So it happens because you actually make the difference. You're the secret ingredient, the secret sauce, that you're building momentum, you're putting things in place, you're actually making that happen. Given that, guys, there's no question that we have been challenged with change. Now, there's two kinds of change that we have. The first kind of change, I'll just jump out of this for a moment. The first kind of change we have is that I decide I'm going to go to the gym. It's internally motivated. I'm making the decision. I'm going to go for a run. I'm going to go for the power walk. I'm going to drop a couple of kilos. I'm going to add a couple of kilos, whatever it happens to be, internally motivated. Then there's externally forced upon us strategies or change. Most of us have been living in an environment where we've had some external change that we've had to respond to. Be okay that you're not alone with this. And I think if we look at the Australian New Zealand marketplace, we could actually think that it's a little bit of a gift that we're in these particular markets. Interesting with this is I think what's happened, guys, based on that, it's actually challenged our ability to look at the old way or the new way as we go through this. So I think one of the things that we're seeing is it's really, property management 2.0. What's the next version that we're going to release, put in place, make happen? So this new way is literally about how good can we capitalize on it? What can we do to bring it forward? There are 4 change fears, and I just thought I'd get these into the conversation because you might have gone, oh, I experienced a bit of that over the last month or two. And it's good to know that you're not alone. These are fears that exist in the process. The first is a fear of the unknown. It's a bit like not wanting to drive around a corner unless you know of everything that could be around the corner. It's ridiculous. We don't know. We've got this unknown, but it is definitely a fear around change. The second is a personal impact. What's the personal impact of this particular change? This could be a new piece of technology that comes in. It could be a different way that we're doing something. It could be a new piece of dialogue I've got to learn to do and put that in place. Number 3 is the end result. Where does this take us to? What's the result of this particular change? Are we going to end up in a better place? And what does that actually look like? And the final one here, guys, is how is it going to happen? How are we going to do this? What's the first step, the second step, the third step? And once again, it's similar to the unknown. I want to know all the steps before I get started. That would be like saying, I want to know everything about driving before I start driving a car. No. We start driving a car and we learn in situ and in the experiences we go through. So why this is important, guys, is I think there's going to be more change coming in the next 6 months. So for you to actually take on board, say, okay, there are 4 fears and I've got a bit of anxiety coming up at the moment. Is it the fact there's an unknown here? Is it the fact of my personal impact? Is it the fact I'm not clear on the end result? Or is it the fact that we actually, I'm not quite sure how it's going to happen? And of course, as a team, you can do some brainstorming on that and start to reduce the fear factor. But you probably heard me say fear is really false expectations appearing real. If you slow the word down, false expectations appearing real. So it's a great way of having a look at that. What we do know with this, guys, is that when you change your language, you actually change your world. So I'm having a lousy day, I'm having a good day, I'm having a great day, I'm having a brilliant day. I've got a problem child on the phone. I've got a bitter and twisted client on the phone, or I have a sensitive client on the phone. You change your language, I guarantee it will change the way that you actually are approaching things. So one of the things that I'm going to ask you to do as we go through today is to start to think about how you're thinking and notice some of the language that's coming through in what you're doing. And not just during the session, but after the session, starting to pick up certain components and what happens and how you can actually build even greater success and greater momentum with it. Now, I know that many of you have seen the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. It's a fundamental shift with this. I do feel that anyone who's had a fixed mindset has been massively challenged at this point in time. Those with the growth mindset have said, okay, I didn't design this. I didn't make this happen. No one did. No one could see it coming. But what we want to do is say, well, how do I actually apply a growth mindset to this? So simply, if we look at this, guys, and once again, you've seen this, but you might want to take a peek at this slide because I think it's really important. Just quickly down the fixed mindset, we've got this. I want less problems. I'm going to do what I feel like. I'm going to hold grudges. I'm going to, talk about people. I'm going to wait for it to happen. I'm going to have some negative energy. I'm going to fear the change. I'm going to avoid goals. I'm going to have no plan. It's a fairly sort of, nasty, neggy way of going. And, the question is, if you've got stinking thinking like that, a great thing's going to happen. The answer is no. Versus, rather than less problems, I'm going to actually look for better skills. Do what I feel like. No, I'm going to do what it takes. I'm going to actually replace confusion and uncertainty with courage and clarity, and so on, guys. So you've got this really neat kind of framework of a growth mindset. Now, I'm hoping that you've got that up somewhere in your office and you're able to check in on this. I think the minimum amount that as a team I would check in around this is to say, how am I going on this, or how are we as a team going on it? And once again, the exercise coming out of this that would be brilliant to do as a team is, how do we move to an even stronger growth mindset? Do we need to start anything? Do we need to stop anything? Do we need to continue? So do that start, stop, continue on this. Anything we need to do more of, anything we need to do less of that will allow us to be really effective with it. So I just want to get this in quickly. By the way, guys, even though I said there's 10, there's going to be more than 10 because you look at this, there's more than 10 just on this. But I'd like to give you a couple of really cool frameworks you can hold on to and start to layer the strategy and the approach that you've got to doing business into this particular framework. This is the first biggie. And I'd love you to actually embrace it and take it on board. The next one, guys, is a big framework that I think your entire life can sit within. And that is be, do, and have. And hopefully this isn't the first time you've seen it. And what we want to do is to just take a deeper look at how we can apply this and put this into place. Most goal setting that we do, it tends to be have goals. I'd like to have this. I'd like to have this. I'd like to have this. I'd like to have the holiday. I'd like to have this much money in the bank. I'd like to have a new job title. I'd like to have the kitchen renovated. So it's a lot of, what I want to have. What we know personally, what you have has a lot to do with what you actually do. So if you want to, have the scales reading 82 kilos, you need to do some things in line with that. So if you do, and in a really simple way, you can coach me on this. If you do ice cream at night, chockies, and let's actually have chipperuchis for lunch and a greasy hamburger, I'm doing things directly opposite to what I want to have, okay? Pretty simple. Versus if I can start to align my do to what I want to have, in other words, let me have a chicken salad for lunch. Let me skip the ice cream and do it as a treat and have a treat night once a week. Do I need to have chocolate? Maybe I can have chocolate, two times a week or something along those lines. So then I'm aligning my do more so to what I want to have and start to actually see that occur. That's a pretty easy kind of framework. I want to have great client relationships. What do I need to do in order to have that? Pretty awesome. So one step before that is, who am I being as I'm doing those things? So, and this is probably, guys, an important point. I'll just jump out of here for a moment. This is a really important point, because I've seen some people who have been in the mode of saying, you know, I'm doing this strategy, I'm doing this dialogue, and it is not working. So we sort of always get into a bit of a grumpy bum situation. I go, okay, just run through how you're doing it. And I go, oh, I'm clear on it, because who they're being when they're doing it is not congruent. It's not aligned. So this is a fundamental kind of framework. Let's add another layer to this, guys, as to how we can capitalize on it. So from here, let's actually step through now. So being, the ultimate being for a property manager is being of service, and being of service to our team members and being of service to our clients. By the way, I think it's fair to say we have all been into a retail store where the person in the retail store is not there and being of service. Either, and by the way, they might be of service to the team where they're chatting away to the team, but they're not being of service to clients. So it's actually about who we're being. Are we being of service to our team and service to our clients? From there, guys, what we do needs to add value to the clients. And, you know, we start to look at this and say, all right, how do we create a situation where our value add is truly adding impact? So, for example, I've had a call, a value call, and hopefully you guys have taken away the two kinds of calls. We have a care call and we have a value call. A value call has to have value from the client's point of view, be it a landlord, be it a tenant, where they say, hey, there's value in that particular conversation. Can you send a value email? Yes. Can you send a value text? Yes. Can you leave a value voicemail? Absolutely. So you start to look at putting impact in what you do. And what that means is, what you do actually has an impact on me that heads me in the right direction. So in some way, you've advanced the conversation. And when you're being of service, when you're doing things that actually add value, I guarantee the ultimate game plan that we end up having is we have relationships that we want, and we have the results that we actually want. And, you know, let's look at it. Some of your KPIs would be results like, for example, lower arrears, results like routine inspections, results like those components, results like having landlords and tenants that are positive in their communication style with you. And that is not going to happen just because we want that, we want to have that. It's going to happen because you're being of service, you're doing things that really add value and have an impact, and then guarantee it leads to you having these relationships and results. Now, this, and please take a pic of this screen, guys, just in case you haven't got it now. It's a layer that I've added to the Be Do Have model, but it's an important layer for you from a property management point of view. Because I think when you do this and you take this on board, impact will be extraordinary. Now, next layer. So all good with that? Just, can you give me a little thumbs up, guys? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. So let's now talk about EQ, which is emotional intelligence. Now, a lot of the time we talk about IQ, how smart is a person. This is how emotionally intelligent the person is around tuning in. And there are 5 components that have been sort of deconstructed to say, this is what emotional intelligence looks like. So let's have a look at the 5. The first is self-awareness. Who am I being in this particular situation? So the Be Do Have model we just looked at, now let's apply it to this. Who am I being? What's my level of self-awareness? Am I sitting in the team meeting? Am I on this Zoom call as a participant, as an explorer, as a contributor? Or am I on in this team meeting as a in cruise control, in vacation mode, or even prisoner mode? That level of self-awareness is incredibly important. The first point. Let's head down these. The next one is empathy. Now, empathy is quite different to sympathy, guys. One of the key qualities that I think makes a brilliant property manager is the ability to have empathy and have empathy in the situation. Hey, sorry to hear that's happened to you. Well, we wouldn't want that to happen to any of our clients. Let's look at how we can actually resolve this. Let's look at how we can work through this to achieve the best outcome. Hey, this might not be the ideal outcome, but it's something that I think we can both live with. Let's have a look at how we go through that. True empathy, stepping into their shoes. Now, guys, I'll just jump out of this. I actually thought I was really, really good at this. Stepping into someone's shoes. Yeah, I get it. So what I would do quite often is to say, if I was in your shoes, this is how I would see it. I thought, hang on a tick. And someone sort of pointed out, Michael, but you've just actually jumped into my shoes. You're not seeing it from my point of view. It's like, so empathy is parking how I view it and actually seeing how the other person views it. So, what's it like from your point of view? What are you seeing? See, that's radically different to if I was in your shoes, this is how I would see it. I've just actually nudged you out of the way. I'm still seeing it from my point of view. Empathy is actually stepping into the other person's shoes. Wow, that's pretty amazing what you've actually had to go through. We wouldn't want that to happen to any of our clients. Let's have a look at how we can navigate and help you through that. So just coming back to it, guys. Here we go. Yeah, perfect. And the third component, sort of heading down this first run, is motivation. Motivation, drive. I think some of you heard me talk about when you slow the word motivation down, it's your motive for action. So what's your motive? Someone who, back to what we looked at before, let me just see if I can bring this up here, someone, and this is going to sound really almost a bit weird for you guys, someone who has got a fixed mindset, they're motivated to continue that, right? Someone who avoids goals, they're motivated to avoid goals. It sounds weird, but their motivation strategy is just focused on the wrong thing versus shifting your motivation. They're motivated to hold a grudge because it seems to actually work for them versus they're motivated to forgive others. So it's starting to have a look at, they're motivated to bring negative energy into the team and into the business rather than motivated to bring positive energy. Now, that doesn't mean there may not need to be a cleanup of some description, but when you start to look at a cleanup, what does happen is you can start to see you're shifting your energy, you're shifting your focus and getting real clarity coming through. So self-awareness, how am I in this situation? Oh, right, I'm noticing I'm getting a little bit of emotional stress here. Rather than you're making me feel, no, I actually can't, and no one can make me feel a certain way. I can only do it myself. So that's actually starting to create an awareness point. Empathy. Let me understand how you see it, what's your perspective, what's really going on for you. And motivation is, what am I truly motivated by? What's my intrinsic motive for action? Now, the next two are social skills. And the first social skills is just being a great human being truly interested in other people and being able to have a conversational framework. Some of you know that I love FORD. So FORD stands for family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. Okay? So when you look at that, you can have a very social conversation and say, tell me about your family, tell me about how work is going, occupation, recreation, hey, what are you doing to relax these days, or what are you doing socially, given all the twists and turns that are happening out there. And then dreams. Don't go and ask someone when you haven't met them before, so tell me about your dreams. It's like, not sure I should be doing that. But social skills are the ability to just have conversation. And one of the things that I think we need to become even more effective at is the more we can become social and build our social skills, the better conversation we are. Not interrogational, guys, but very conversational. And the final one, self-management. Self-management in terms of emotional self-management, that's great, but also self-management, being able to put the right things into play at the right time. And this is about how we can efficiently plan our day, work through things, make things happen, and being able to take responsibilities and deliver on those particular responsibilities. So what I would love you to do, and I'm really tipping this in to activate your thinking around this. I'll just jump out for a minute, guys. What I'd love you to do, guys, is with this particular one, jump on and have a look at some of the EQ videos. So if you do a search on YouTube, for example, emotional intelligence, guarantee you're going to find some really great information to give you more insight and perspective with this. But there's no question, if we look at what we've done so far, is we started the conversation in terms of today talking about, okay, how we deal with change, recognizing the new way, and we need to embrace that. A lot of that has to do with leaving behind a fixed mindset and going with the growth mindset to build that momentum. Then who are we being? What are we doing? So we actually have the things that we want, bring that into play, and then adding emotional intelligence on top of that. So there's a neat package deal of personal growth, personal development, and an evolution of you guys as who you are and how you're operating. And look, one of the things that I've got it on slide, so I'll pause and we'll cover that in a moment. So we've covered a lot in that, and if you think about it, there's three key chunks. First one is fixed mindset or growth mindset. Second one is literally the be, do, have. And third one is the EQ, emotional intelligence. Start to package that together in terms of who you're being and what you're doing. Guarantee, guys, there's transformation in the way that we're operating. By the way, this isn't just for business. This is actually for life. Why? Because we bring our whole self into business. So the more we can be, the more effective we'll actually be. Okay, so where we're going to head to now is a growth framework, and we'll just do a little play with this. So the growth mindset to another level. The first thing, guys, that I'd like to say is there is a changing mindset from a property manager to an asset manager. Now, whether you change your title or not is irrelevant. And, I think some of you have been at conferences where I've said, I think property management should be called people management, and we look after properties as opposed to property management, because quite often we think the property is the center. No, relationships are at the center, people are at the center. So that shift into asset management, I'm helping my clients look after assets in the most appropriate way. So we're now going to work through growth and give you the key framework that I'd love you to take on board to build momentum. Okay, so the first are your goals. And your goals should lead you on a path to amazing gratitude. And look, I had a conversation with someone yesterday, and it was this mode of saying, how are you traveling, going? And there was a little bit of pity party in the conversation. So actually, if you're feeling like you're having a little bit of a pity party, just remember that you are in a position where you need to be grateful for the fact that you actually have the ability to set some goals and go out and achieve them. And gratitude comes, guys, from being able to reflect on who we are and what we're doing. I do a morning ritual that I love doing, and there are three components to it. So I do a bit of a stretch in the morning, and the first thing I do is, what's my number one goal for the day? So what's my main priority for the day? It's just this nice little flag comes in. And it was, by the way, our two masterminds today, for them to be magnificent, great, and make a difference to you guys. That was my number one goal for the day. Second thing is, I asked myself the question, what am I grateful for? And I just let that go. I might have one answer to that. I might have 3 or 4 or 5 answers to that. So I'm grateful that up on the Gold Coast, grateful that it's a beautiful sunny day up here. Sorry about that, guys, if it isn't where you are. And grateful for the fact that I have the ability to have impact, and grateful that you guys are here to be able to go through that. So grateful. And then the final one, and this is interesting, so I'm sharing sort of like a little bit of behind the scenes with Sheargold, is how can I love even more today? And it's sort of an open thing. It might be loving what I'm doing. It might be loving the people around me. It's something that just gives that nice little lift and say, how can I love even more today? And as simple as that is, guys, it gives me this kind of neat sort of like beautiful reset or reboot for the day around this. A lot of gratitude in there around the ability to achieve something. Okay, so let's head back here. So we bring our goals and gratitude into play. Then, guys, we absolutely want to bring relationships into play. So I would be in the mode, and once again, if I was in your shoes, I know I'm not, but if I was, I would have a team session, guys, where we brainstorm with each other and say, if there were 3 things we could do to improve the quality of the relationships we have with our landlords, what would they be? If there are 3 things we could do to improve the quality of our relationships with our tenants, what would they be? And, let's add the 3rd category, and 3 things we could do as a team to improve the quality of relationships, what would that actually be? And as that framework starts to evolve, guys, it means that you've got relationships on the radar around how you're building and improving those. Okay, so we've got our goals and gratitude, we've got our relationships. Now, the next thing is ownership. Now, there is a fantastic book written called Extreme Ownership. Now, one of the things that extreme ownership is about, and one of the things that your clients love more than anything else, is when you take extreme ownership of the situation that they're in, or to help them navigate to a better place. And look, this is not the default of people. The default, and we learn this as little kids, is to play the blame, excuse, and deny game. So it wasn't me, it wasn't my fault, Dolly did it. No, I don't know anything about it. Sorry about that. Or, oh yeah, well that happened because of this. It's all in that sort of like excuse and denial and blame kind of mode. But if we actually shift this to this ownership and extreme ownership, it means that one, people can count on you, and your word absolutely means something. And therefore we need to play the under promise and over deliver game with this. But what is it that I truly own? An example of this could be, and for me personally, guys, there was a long time there where I did not own my health. So, I was reasonably healthy and I did a few things and so on, but I didn't truly own my health. I had a story going on, a blame, excuse, deny going on, that I blamed that I had traveled a lot. And, my excuse was that, I couldn't organize meals and I couldn't do this and blah, blah, blah. So, I'm carrying 10 kilos more than I should be carrying. And because of that would never change, because my story was strong enough and I wasn't taking ownership of the fact that, hey, I am responsible for my health. I'm responsible for my finances. I'm responsible for the relationships I have with my clients. I'm responsible for learning. I'm responsible for getting great at this. As soon as we actually move into taking extreme ownership and responsibility, it shifts everything in our life. And when we do, that we can start to build some serious momentum with it. So hopefully, guys, you're finding this a value, and you can start to look at this from both a business and a personal point of view. So our goals and gratitude, our relationships, now we've got ownership. From there, guys, we want to bring win-win thinking in. So how is it that we can create a situation where we win as a business and the clients win? I've seen situations where the clients win and the business doesn't win. This is not a good model, guys. And, a fundamental view is our businesses need to be profitable. It's actually part of the win strategy that we're creating. And that profitability means we can reinvest in things, we can add new technology, we can, build our skill set, build our framework. But think win-win. The opposite of this is clearly a win-lose situation. So there are people out there that for me to win, you must lose. And the game they're playing, guys, unfortunately, is this game of constant battle. Am I being judged? Or am I competing with this particular person? As soon as you let go of those things and you start to say, no, I can bring presence into what we're doing, so we can actually play the game together. We can both win in the situations. There's a great book, guys, called I'm Okay, You're Okay. And probably if you go onto YouTube and do a search on I'm Okay, You're Okay, you'll start to see that framework. And the opposite of I'm Okay, You're Okay starts to get into those win-lose kind of components coming through. So we're going to bring win-win into our conversation, into our mode. Then, guys, what we're going to add to this, Okay, so how are we operating as a team? Now, teamwork's voluntary. You cannot force someone to be a team player, and teamwork is mandatory. No, you've actually got to choose to become a player in the team. So you add extreme ownership coming, and you add win-win to this. You bring teamwork into play. Then all of a sudden, you're going to be more effective. Now, I'm not sure how these hands work at the moment with the whole social distancing point of view, but we'll let that go just for a moment. Teamwork is a critical component to us achieving the outcome. And I know that some of you are familiar with the concept of passing the baton. And passing the baton is, I can pass the baton to you in a way that makes it hard for you to succeed. That's not being a great team player. Or I can pass the baton to you in a way that makes it easier for you to succeed. And it's very rare that one person, particularly at how we're structuring property management businesses now, that one person is going to get the job done. It's actually about passing the baton and recognizing that the best thing I can do is to deliver to you a great outcome and a great framework to be able to help you succeed. And then the baton will probably come back to me and it'll go to someone else. This means we own the ability to pass the baton to someone in the team to set them up for success. And as simple as that is, guys, it makes a massive difference to our framework and how we're actually operating. Okay. And the final thing is being healthy. Now, healthy absolutely comes in terms of the emotional intelligence, so the EQ factor. But if we start to look at this, it's a holistic view, and it's supporting each other to be truly healthy in that framework. Healthy mind, healthy body, it makes a massive difference to what we're doing. And I know a lot of you have been playing the game where you've started to look at how you can improve your health, improve your fitness, and improve what you're doing. But don't neglect that, guys. Every single time I get onto an aircraft, I'm reminded, and it hasn't been for a while, by the way, I'm reminded of in that simple safety demonstration, make sure you fit your own oxygen mask before you help others. So you want to make sure you're looking after you. And we can sometimes use one of the favorite metaphors I heard at a conference a number of years ago was, a high performance racing car. If someone loaned you a high performance racing car to use, or a high performance vehicle, and you could use it for the weekend, what fuel would you put into it? You put the best fuel you could possibly do. Why? It's a high performance vehicle. Well, and then the question comes up is, well, hang on a tick, you're a high performance vehicle. You as a human being are a high performance vehicle. So what fuel would you be putting into your vehicle to achieve the best outcome possible? So start to look at this, and both from a health point of view, and there's no question, guys, you know what you need, what you do. You just need to find out the pathway that's going to work best for you to be able to achieve that. So what are we talking about? We're talking about an amazing property manager with a growth mindset who has some goals and gratitude, who is really focused on building great relationships, who's taking extreme ownership, who thinks win-win in the process, particularly from a team point of view. So we pass the baton effectively, and we're healthy in terms of our mindset, but also our body and what we bring into there. The quality of our sleep, all those things come into play. And as simple as that is, guys, it's such a strong framework to bring into play. Okay, how you guys going? Can I get a thumbs up? Very good, guys. Very, very good. Now, some of you were thinking that today, I'll just jump out of here for a moment. Some of you thinking today is, oh, it's going to be property management 101. No. The thing about it is, if no one shows up, not a lot happens. You are the secret ingredient. You make the difference. So this is about adding value to you, so you can add value to your clients, add value to the business, add value to the momentum that is occurring from there. So let's actually go to the next step in the process. And that is quick wins. And once we go through these quick wins, guys, we'll wrap this particular session. So the first quick win is to apply worst first. The best property managers, without a doubt, ask the question, what is the worst thing I need to do today? Let me do that first. It means it totally shifts your mindset. It totally shifts your energy. It was nowhere near as bad as what you thought it was. And the only little tip I'd give on this, If you're writing it down on a piece of paper, I would put W1. So if someone sees that you don't want to have the worst thing to do or something like that, if you have W1, someone sees it and they go, what's W1? It's my win number one of the day. And that's actually to connect with you and go through that. Secondly, a strategy called Plan Tomorrow Today. One of the key things is that, particularly in property management, you can have so many moving parts, guys, that you can take the day home with you. I call it the black cloud. And, you know, the day bursts at home and it's just not a pleasant experience. Where I'd rather you at the end of the day, put your plan together. So you dump it onto paper, you dump it onto your organizer online, you dump it onto Outlook, whatever you're utilizing it to manage your priorities for the day. So you can relax and go home feeling happy and content and know where you're heading. Next, guys, is to chunk your work. Now, the concept of this is if you do a phone call, then an email, then a text message, and another phone call, and then check something on the computer and so on, you won't be anywhere near as effective if you can start to do batching of your work. And a great way to do that is to embrace the ideal month. Now, if I was talking with a sales team, I would talk more so about an ideal week, but I love an ideal month for property management. The reason being is if you put a real focus on arrears for this particular week, the next week it might be on routine inspections. The next week it might be on signs that occur. So not that it's the only time you would do arrears, but you put some energy and effort for a particular week into it. It builds amazing momentum, guys, in how you're operating and the way that you actually bring that into play. Next one is Seabreeze. Hopefully you're already applying this, but recognizing when someone has something go wrong from a property point of view, it's at the shelter part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So they've got some emotional energy and charge to it. It may not be towards you, it just might be towards the situation. So Seabreeze thinking is imagining it blowing past you as opposed to landing on you. And this means you're not taking it personally, and that makes a massive difference to how you're operating. Next, guys, is the 30-second rule. And the 30-second rule, once again, this will serve you immensely well, business-wise and personally. People can only rant and rave uninterrupted for 30 seconds. But if you interrupt me in the first 30 seconds, you have delivered to me a level of rocket fuel. And the final one here is get social at breaks. Now, what I mean by that is I've seen in property management offices where too much socialization throughout the entire day. I am a massive believer, guys, of going back to a morning tea where the whistle blows. I don't think we're going to have the tea lady, but we actually have a quality break where we have some social time. The reason is the way we do it is weird for me. I can be in the middle of doing something, getting this email out, and you guys know, sometimes when you're putting an email together, you need to really focus in on it. If my colleagues are chatting about the weekend or chatting about their plans or chatting about something at the same time, I've sort of like got this multitasking kind of a thing, and I'll probably lose focus. But then I'll finish the email and I'll want to have a chat where they're actually doing something else. But if we move to getting social at breaks and actually having designated breaks, I guarantee that will make a difference. Two more quickies, guys, I'd like to share with you. The first one is traffic lights, the green, amber, red. I love it when you can take through your properties, go, is this a green property, an amber property, or a red property? A red property means you should be escalating that as an issue. An amber property is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to go to red or you're going to get it back to green. And the goal is, how do you have a green portfolio? Now, we always have green. The answer is no. But the more you actually get a green portfolio, the better momentum you'll actually create and put into play. And guys, that's really the wrap of today as we actually go through and talk about these particular points that will make a big difference. Now, I did apologize to you up front. There are more than 10 strategies in here, but there are some big frameworks that if you take these frameworks on board, bring them in and integrate them into how you're operating, I guarantee that it will transform your work style and what you do. And by the way, it'll transform the way you view a new piece of technology arrive in the office. It'll transform the way, here's some new legislation that you need to grab hold of, because all those twists and turns are going to happen. It's going to be you and who you're being and how you're operating that will actually come into play.